welcome back to the Hot Seat. I'm delighted today to be recording a discussion with Kathleen Henrick, who's Client Director at Landytech. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
So we're here on the Isle of Man recording this discussion. Yep. You're coming to the event tonight.
Yes, indeed.
For those PCD members who've not met you before or heard about Landytech, it'd be great to hear a little bit about that before we get into our conversation.
Sure. So Landytech is a web-based platform that essentially enables various types of clients, particularly fiduciaries and trustees, to essentially revolutionize their administrative work and kind of really empower their clients with more data, more analytics, and better and much more scalable reporting. So we're really looking to kind of aggregate data, enhance that data through various performance and risk analytics, and then enable your clients to pick and choose what reporting they need, whilst also servicing kind of internal processes and compliance reporting as well.
Great. And it's your first trip to the Isle of Man.
It is.
Is it part of a patch now you're going to be covering? You're going to be back here regularly?
Sure. So we actually have one client based here already, but we're absolutely open for business and looking for any other fiduciaries or intermediaries that might be interested in what we've got to offer.
Great, because you've got a strong base in the Channel Islands at the moment for client demand.
Yes.
Are there any other jurisdictions you're commonly working with or travelling to build up the business?
So the Channel Islands, as well as you mentioned, we've got a large offering in London with a lot of London-based clients, but also we're expanding into France, the Netherlands, and a lot of Western Europe as well. We do have a couple of Southeast Asian clients, so really anywhere that's open for us, we're happy to go to.
Okay, terrific. And in the reporting space, there is a lot of different offerings out there, including some offered by banks themselves. Mm-hmm. How do you contrast a reporting offering that you might offer versus something that a client might already be able to access through a bank or wealth manager, for example?
Sure. So our real kind of big distinguishing factor is that we consolidate all data on a T+1 basis, which means you might have portfolios at several banks or custodians, and we're able to set up those automated data feeds. We're able to get that data on a T+1 basis, that's positions and transactional information, and then publish it for you. And then with that, you're then able to manipulate, analyze, and really scrutinize that data to then give you a reporting that you want, branded in your style for what your clients need. And
it also covers non-bankable assets, the full suite of art, yachts, jets, and all of that.
Absolutely. Something we're really seeing at the moment is clients having their clients with huge portfolio diversification. So, you're now expected to report on, as you say, jets, arts, but also cryptocurrencies, different types of private equity. And that's a real challenge we find for clients because the data comes from all over in different formats. So to try and aggregate that, standardize it, and enrich it in a consistent format is really difficult. And so we're enabling that by both our automated data feeds as well as our own PMS system, which is then all available on one web-based platform, which you can then create your reports on.
Okay. And in areas, investments such as funds, are you able to look inside funds to see allocation of assets so that you're getting a true picture, or what?
Absolutely. So looking through into funds is a huge part of it because it also enables you to much more closely monitor your risk and also see how those investment portfolios are really performing versus different metrics, and also are your managers keeping their word? We are able to set up different types of limits to monitor if they're breaching. Are you supposed to be involved in derivatives or are you not? And if you are, we're able to flag that on the system and empower our clients to kind of question and scrutinize what's really going on.
So it helps the trustee with good governance, because otherwise these breaches would be hard for them to monitor.
Exactly, especially if they're getting their data, 2, 3, 4 weeks sometimes after a reporting period has finished, where we have it on a T+1. That breach would be flagged immediately, and we're able to provide clients with a daily compliance report that will notify if any of your portfolios or trusts have had a breach within their investments.
And do you also, I imagine the family office sector is an attractive target for you. How do you tend to work with a family office? Is it often on a newly established setup because they're looking at all their infrastructure, or do you sometimes replace systems that are just out of date? What's the kind of setup you might work on a family office with?
It's both. So we have some family office clients who are kind of sick and tired of huge amounts of manual Excel reporting, different data sources, all those kind of things. And so they transition from their kind of manual processes onto our automated system. They're very heavy users of the PMS, so they can add all those different types of assets that traditionally they've not been able to report on very easily. The ability that we have for also kind of third-party enrichment means that there is more information other than just what they're able to pull from those statements. But also we have new family offices being set up all the time. They want to kind of standardize their procedures moving forward, make it much more scalable for them, and therefore their staff aren't involved in those kind of mundane day-to-day tasks that aren't necessarily fulfilling, and really empowers them to get back to the clients and the client relationship building, which is really what family offices should all be about.
And does your business provide support in getting, like in the onboarding, I imagine that can be quite labour intensive, but how do you set up to support and provide that service?
Absolutely. Onboarding is, a huge deal because there's data from so many different places. So we do have a dedicated onboarding team that's overseen by myself and our data director. And from there, we're able to monitor the process. We obviously are holding the client's hand all the way, making sure those connections are set up, but also really understanding their user cases. I really think a lot of the software providers miss the mark by not listening to their client and what they want, where we try to be as bespoke as we can. And so what a client will want, we'll find that out in the onboarding process and make sure that once we do have all those connections set up, once all the data is onboarded, we're able to make sure that Sesame, which is the platform, is able to provide what they need, both on a dashboard sense online, but also in any custom reports that the client may want.
And what about on the security side? I mean, if you're getting a consolidated picture of assets, there's identifiable markers within there of how do you get families comfortable with the idea of having a consolidated picture? What sort of security overlays do you have?
Sure. So obviously we work with Microsoft Azure platform, which is also used by the US government. So we consider that pretty secure, but also we advise on best practice as well. So what kind of anonymity is important for clients? And some people care more about that than others. Obviously all staff are very well trained in kind of confidentiality and what it means for our clients. So it's really, really important for us and something that we really do hammer home to everybody involved. All of our connections that are set up with banks have to go through various DDQs, NDAs, etc. So it's something we're very well versed in and very comfortable with doing. And
your coverage of the different banks and custodians is pretty complete. I mean, how long have you been operating the platform and engaging with banks, getting the data feeds coming in? Sure.
So we've been going for over 3 years now, coming up for 4. And what that means is that every time we get a new client, if we do have a new custodian, that's something we really want because we want to make sure we're covering, everywhere that we can. So we don't view it as a problem. We view it as, a welcome kind of change and something we really want to kind of get a hold of. So our coverage is pretty good. And as I said, we're adding to it all the time. And when I say pretty good, that means we cover not only the big banks, but we're looking to cover smaller banks as well. Some may have kind of more personal, less corporate accounts. So we're able to go over that with our open banking solution as well.
And how do you differentiate access from the different players that might be from the settle or the trustee beneficiaries? Are you able to make sure that people have access to information that's appropriate for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we understand that obviously within a trust there will be different client officers or people who are in charge of different portfolios. And what we're able to do is establish who's allowed what, essentially, and allocate those portfolios to those individual users. We always recommend having a couple of super users within our client who's able to kind of distinguish that. But we always have oversight and always happy to help advise. In terms of with the actual beneficiary, we really see it as a hybrid solution so that our clients, so the client officers, are able to go in, hold a meeting with a client, deep dive into certain bits of data on the dashboard, but then also provide them with a report that they can take home and analyse at their own free will.
Okay. And in terms of the complexity of information that's displayed, I've seen other tools with a variety of levels of complexity because financial markets can be complicated and overwhelming perhaps for different players getting this information. Yeah. Do you have something similar that allows them to sort of see the essentials or something more sophisticated?
Sure. So something that's really important to us is getting a very clear idea of the structure within the entity we're working. So oftentimes there's multiple holding companies. Within those holding companies, there's multiple entities, and then there's more portfolios, etc., etc. So we make sure that we have a really clear structure, which is actually interactive. and client officers or whoever can go in and really drill down at the different levels to understand where the money is and what it's doing. We're able to do that via kind of an interactive org chart that people can drill down into, but also on our dashboard, people can look and group by whatever means they want, whether they want to group by their exposure by a country or perhaps sector. We're able to offer that, and they can go deep, deep, deep for every layer that we have.
And how are you set up to charge? I mean, how does your fee structure work? Is it partly based on a project fee on onboarding plus an ongoing fee, or how do you set your fees up?
So it's more to do with what we're actually onboarding rather than the length of time it takes, because we obviously appreciate that certain things can take longer depending on the complexity of the project. So we really look at the entities that we're taking on and kind of charge them accordingly depending on their complexity. But that being said, we never want to kind of discourage or not be inclusive to people who may have different levels of AUM or different levels of user access that are required. So we really want to provide a solution to everybody. So we're happy to kind of take on any kind of ideas that people may have and look to kind of create a bespoke solution for people.
And just finally, just tell us a little bit more about Landy as a company. I mean, when did you join them and where did you join them from?
So I've been at Landy now for coming up for 6 months. I joined as their client director and essentially looking to restructure our client team for scalability and growth. Where we're exploding in different spaces, we need to make sure we've got a client team that's able to deal with that. And that's really where we're at as a company. Every department, whether it's data, whether it's product, whether it's marketing, are really looking to make sure that we're scaling all of our operations to make sure we maintain our level of service. I think that's so important, is that whilst we are a tech company, we understand that people do need a face to talk to, somebody to pick up the phone to, and that's what we're really here to offer.
Fantastic. Well, look forward to seeing you tonight at the dinner and look forward to sharing this interview with our members.
Absolutely. Thanks, David.